Today, what we're doing is we are going to layer. So what I mean by layer is we're going to add another skill that can go on top of your breath that can just add extra coping, extra power. And what happens in labor and when we're dealing with something stressful or something painful, a lot of times our brain will start sort of negative spiraling down. So during that painful moment, your brain has a tendency to start thinking things like, this hurts. How long is this going to be? Is this going to go on forever? Am I going to be able to cope with this? I don't like this. I want to be done. All those kind of negative sort of spiraling down thoughts. That's not helpful when we're trying to do something that's challenging, when we're trying to do something that is really, we're the only one that can do it. In labor, we're the only one that can go all the way through. So what we want to do is have some strategies that are going to block those negative thoughts from going down. And one of the ways that we can do that is kind of giving our brain another job to do. That's what I like to call it. When I talk to my students, if you've watched some videos, you might have heard that before, because I tend to say that a lot, but I like to give, during a contraction, I like to have a strategy so that the brain has something else to do, something else to focus on, something else to think about, something else going on so we don't go down that negative spiral. So today we're going to add another layer. So our bottom, our foundation of coping is still going to be breath. I really believe that's always there. That's our core. We're going to add another layer on top. So putting those together is going to give our brain a job so that when the contraction comes, our brain has something that it needs to do and it kind of stops going down that negative spiral. One of the things we did when we talked about adding a focal point, like these battery operated candles, when we did that, let me turn one on. So when we gave ourselves the battery candle focus, that focal point, that's another way of giving ourselves a job, giving our mind a job to do during the contractions. Today, we're going to talk about rhythm, adding rhythm. So it's kind of not necessarily just about breath. You're getting a little extra, which I hope you enjoy. Okay, so adding rhythm is as easy as something like back and forth. So if you're on our email list, you've probably got a little sneak peek at what we're talking about today, and that is back and forth. So adding rhythm is a way to just, have something to do and something that is oh so easy. So rhythm can be as easy as this: back and forth and back and forth. There's a lot of ways that you can do this, but one of the best ways that I've seen and one of the most effective ways, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate right now, but I'm going to describe it so you can practice it if you're watching me right now. If you have the ability to get into this position, you could either sit on a birth ball, or you can do like a forward lean, maybe on a countertop, on say a kitchen countertop. That's always at really nice height, and then sway your hips. So instead of me leaning back and forth like this, keep if you're leaning forward, keep your upper body fixed when you're leaning, and then sway your hips back and forth. And any kind of like hip movement, pelvic movement, all of that is, just giving our baby some different positions and shapes as they are making all those tiny little turns coming through the pelvis. And so moving hips like that is really good. So how this would look when you layer it with breath. Let's say you're laboring at home and you have a birth ball and a contraction starts. You're sitting on the birth ball. So the contraction starts and you take a deep cleansing breath in, and then you start your regular breathing. And while you are breathing, you're just rocking your hips back and forth on the birth ball. And your brain is just thinking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just kind of like it's a job. And it's a really basic thing to think about, back and forth. I mean, could it be more basic? But it just kind of up levels the breath and makes those two together really powerful. If you haven't had a painful or a challenging experience this might seem a little strange, but trust me here. This is really, really a great pairing together. So breathing and rhythm. Now, other types of rhythm that you can use in labor, a lot of hospitals, well, I don't know about a lot, many hospitals have rocking chairs in the labor room. So rocking chairs, or even at home, are a nice way to do rhythm because, of course, they go back and forth, and you can do that in labor. Also, other ways people have used rhythm is tapping, like tapping on something, tapping on, you can't see it, but say I was tapping on like the chair, the arms of my chair, like when labor starts, tap, 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 tap. And again, the reason for this is keeping our brain somewhere else so that it doesn't go down that negative spiral of I'm in pain. This sucks, right? We don't want that. For our practice today, what I recommend that you do is try out either if you have a moment to grab a birth ball or you have a ball around, grab one of those, sit on that. I'll put a link to the birth balls below if you need to grab a birth ball, for your upcoming labor. It is a really helpful tool. It's also really helpful in late pregnancy to kind of do some figure eights and that kind of thing on the birth ball. So grab a birth ball. If you don't have one, if you can stand up and lean on something and kind of practice the hips, or if you're just like me and you're sitting in a chair, then you can just mirror what I'm going to do, which is just to go back and forth and back and forth. And just like always, we're going to start with a cleansing breath. And then we're going to do 2 breaths where we kind of think about relaxing, doing some progressive relaxation, because as you remember, the more tense, tight, and tension we have in our muscles, the more that contractions actually hurt and do less work, because we need to be loose and open and allowing for that cervix to open. And it's hard. And let's go ahead and do our practice breathing together. Again, this is a great way to build up that muscle memory and be ready to use it when we're in labor. First, we'll start with that cleansing breath. Just let it out. Don't overthink that one. Then we're going to do 2 where we're thinking about our breath. And then on the third one, we're going to use our rhythm. And I'm just going to breathe and sway back and forth. Okay, let's do it. Now our rhythm. Last one. Awesome. Hey, high five if you did that with me. Does it feel dumb? Does it feel awkward? Yeah, it does. But I know that you can really increase your success by practicing. So that's why I'm here looking dumb and awkward and doing it. What's cool is that we have now added some strategies. I want to talk about a layering that you could use. Okay. So we've got our foundation breath. Then we could use a focal point, right? Like using our battery operated candles. I put a link down below to my little pack that are my favorite, that you get 12. So you've got your breathing, you've got your focal point, right? Then you could add vocalization. We already did that one, right? With the whoos. And then you could add some partner strategies where your partner is cueing you with the breath, right? Helping you through it. Then let's add another layer where we add rhythm like we did today. So what that might look like is ooh, ah, right? So really powerful because you're not just relying on one skill. We are filling up your toolbox with different tools and layering them up together. And they can used together so nicely. That is what I want for you. I want you to walk into labor or start labor and be ready to go. And if, in case you're wondering, well, Alice, I'm planning to get an epidural. I don't really need these strategies. That is wrong. I mean, it's great if you want an epidural, for sure. But there will definitely be times before and during that you will have some challenging experiences to get through. And having breath and all of these strategies are only going to help, no matter what you choose or where you choose to add other pain coping choices in there, options. So we just finished day 9 with rhythm. If you are finding this breathing mini series helpful, leave me a comment. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And share it with a friend, share it with a bump group. If you think other people would find it helpful, building your positive mindset for birth is really helpful in labor. So I have different birth affirmation videos that are in the links down below that are for the first trimester, second, third, and labor and birth that I recommend doing. If you're already here practicing breathing, go ahead and click those links so you can get some good positive mindset practice as well. Thanks so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you right here tomorrow. Bye, everybody.